Thank you very much, Silo Hatan, CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, the chairperson of the foundation, Professor Njabulun Ndebele, and other fellow board members, Dr. Zacharias, Your Excellencies, representatives of the Fourth Estate at the back, ladies and gentlemen, the Mandela family, Ndileka, as well very. I wish to start off by commending the Nelson Mandela Foundation for organizing this event, which highlights the significance of the Nelson Mandela International Day, a day that is reflective of the world's response to the values Nelson Mandela epitomized. The 2014 International Mandela Day is unique in many respects, but primarily because it is the first time after we had laid Madiba to rest at his place of birth in Kgalema. And one can contend that the call to the people around the world for support for this campaign has a special meaning this year. This is all the more reason why we should renew our commitment in ensuring that this day is imbued with durable meaning that reverberates across time and space. This is a day that inspires all humanity, in that it says to all of us that we can change the world for the better in whatever way we can as individuals. Indeed, with Nelson Mandela having fought for social justice for 67 years of his life, it is not too much to ask of us, of each one of us, that we should devote 67 minutes of each day in each year to a good cause. This would seem an appropriate way to honor the towering legacy of this icon of our times. Among others, on this day, we remember the challenges to eradicate poverty, to promote peace and reconciliation in the world, and to live together as brothers and sisters, no matter what worldly affiliations seem to divide us. The International Mandela Day campaign holds special significance this year, as it marks the 5th anniversary on the 18th of July. Anniversaries, of course, invite us to celebrate. In equal measure, though, they should also demand of us that we stop, take a pause, and reflect. Entailed in this reflection is the imperative to identify the lessons to be learned, weaknesses to be addressed, as well as strengths on which we can build as we go forward. As Madiba said in one of his last public addresses in 2008, and I quote, "The world remains beset by so much human suffering, poverty, and deprivation. It is in your hands to make of our world a better one for all, especially the poor, vulnerable, and marginalized," close quote. It is in your hands. It was this statement by Madiba, which he repeated publicly and privately many times in 2008 and 2009, that led to the adoption of the Mandela Day campaign. 5 years later, we all have reason to hope that the campaign will become an instrument in giving effect to Madiba's legacy. The campaign has demonstrated success from a range of perspectives. In this regard, 5 attributes stand out. Firstly, Mandela Day reminds us of our public service obligations. It tells those who work in government that they should see themselves as public servants rather than as government officials. Secondly, Mandela Day promotes a broader ethic of service. It tells us all, in whatever societal spacing or sector we are in, that we find liberation for ourselves only as we take responsibility for the liberation of others. Thirdly, Mandela Day has an extraordinary capacity to secure cross-sectoral cooperation involving government, the private sector, and civil society. And fourthly, Mandela Day addresses one of the key challenges confronting both South Africa and the world, namely alienation. Mandela Day creates an opportunity for both the haves and the have-nots to work together in confronting social ills and building a better world. Indeed, all of us have good reason to support Nelson Mandela International Day and the campaign around it. This fundamentally is a call to honor Madiba by changing the way we think and by taking responsibility for making a difference in the world. One of the distinctive features of the campaign is that it is not prescriptive. It does not tell people how to mark Mandela Day, nor does it tell them what they should do and where. The founding rationale of the campaign is that it should open Madiba's legacy to interpretation by people all around the world in their own contexts, and that it should open the legacy to application in wildly differing contexts. So that the call is for individuals and institutions to respond to the needs of their communities in whatever way they can, using whatever means they have. Nonetheless, this year the campaign is emphasizing 3 themes for consideration: literacy, shelter, and food and security. We know that the most vulnerable are those who are going hungry, who have no proper roof over their heads, who cannot read or write. We also know that so many of our people still find themselves in this position of vulnerability. This, of course, is not only in South Africa, but the world over. It is a global phenomenon, and all these shortages limit us as human beings. It truncates us as human beings. Nelson Mandela International Day reminds us that to go without basic necessities of life is to be robbed of your humanity. Indeed, what dignity do you have left when you are impoverished, when you cannot put food on the table for your family, when you have no shelter over your head, and when you have no ability to read and write, and are thus locked outside global mainstream society and modernity? In 2014, let us all support the Nelson Mandela International Day campaign, mindful of both the global contexts and the contexts of our own communities. This is not about do-gooding. It is about building the cultures that will make a difference in the world. Lastly, as I conclude, I wish to thank the United Nations for declaring the 18th of July Nelson Mandela International Day. It is good to see UN representation here today, and good for us to know that the UN The Nelson Mandela Foundation and the South African government and people are strong Mandela Day partners. We look forward to the 5th anniversary of Nelson Mandela International Day, confident that the resonance of this day will help raise global consciousness to strive for a better world. And I thank you for your attention.